sejahtera para penonton TVS. Kita bertemu lagi di Econ Rountable musim ketiga. Anda bersama saya, Madeline Burma, di WTC KL. Jadi untuk episod kali ini, kita akan membincang satu topik yang sangat menarik, iaitu kesihatan mental di tempat kerja. Bersama saya di studio hari ini, Yang Mulia, Cik Puan Sarimah Ibrahim, Mental Health Advocate and Coach, and Professional MC and Motivational Speaker. Serta Profesor Adjang, Datuk Dr. Hendru Mohan Raj, Presiden Persatuan Kesihatan Mental Malaysia. Beliau kini sedang bertugas di Republik Nauru di Lautan Pasifik. Selamat datang Yang Mulia.
Terima kasih.
Selamat datang Prof. How are you?
Terima kasih. Oh, very well. Mana?
Mau mana? Okey, dia dah cakap Iban dah.
Mana? Okey, kami sehat di sini. Oh, kami mana?
Okey. Terima kasih ya. So, kita mula dulu dengan Yang Mulia, Cik Puan ya. Cik Puan. So, isu kesihatan mental. Ramai orang tertanya, sebenarnya apa isu dia? Ni kisah orang gila ke? I was just asking Dr. Andrew tadi, is it about just orang gila? Istilah mental health.
Istilah mental health. Wow, sangat-sangat stereotypical bila kita gunakan perkataan gila associated with it. I think everybody's got a little bit of crazy, as they say. You know what I mean? It just depends on the level and whether or not it's socially acceptable lah orang kata kan.
Okay.
I mean, I have a huge personal affiliation with this subject.
Right.
I mean, not just as a human being, but also professionally.
Okay.
And as a student as well. So, panjang cerita dia. Sampai esok boleh.
Itu perlu satu
Kan?
sesi episod sendiri.
So, basically, I think ini adalah bukan sebenarnya isu kesihatan mental, malah dia satu isu kemanusiaan.
Alright.
Because to be human is to be physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual.
Okay.
So, in terms of discussing it, I think, you wouldn't say, for example, if somebody had a terminal illness or, a health that was physically deteriorating that you can see and test with a blood test, you wouldn't say something negative about it.
Right.
But if somebody has a deteriorating or difficult mental or emotional state, there is usually that association that it's something negative.
Right.
Because the symptoms might affect the person and their surroundings negatively.
Right.
Which happened to me. But it doesn't mean that I was in a negative headspace.
Okay.
It was just that the symptoms and how I experienced it, I perceive them as negative, meaning panic attacks, anxiety, various sort of symptoms yang memang dahsyat, sangat perit, which happened to me 2 years ago. So, was it actually a negative thing to go through postnatal depression, from my aspect, for example?
Okay.
When I saw myself in that situation, I thought I was gila or crazy because the symptoms I was feeling felt out of control.
Okay.
But now when I look back on it, a result of that situation were many, many positive things in my life. A lot of shifts that I had to make in order to grow as a human being.
But you classify yourself in the initial stage as you do have a problem. That's why you said negative tadi.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, that's the thing with society. We refer to it as a problem, but yet is it not just a state of being?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to sound too philosophical here, but you get what I mean? In the sense that we have ups and downs in our life. Sometimes they're extreme ups and sometimes they're extreme downs, depending on what happened to you.
Right.
So at the time, I knew that there was something that I needed to address. That would be the word I would use.
Right.
I didn't ever perceive there was something wrong with me, doctor.
Okay.
Because I knew enough about psychology thanks to my studies.
Your background.
Yeah,
psychology.
so I knew to get help. But there are people out there who probably don't have that.
Right.
And they would feel there's something wrong with them.
Okay. So now let's hear from Prof. You're the expert, the medical expert, the one with the, President of Mental Health Association of Malaysia. How do you see the situation right now, Prof? We were talking about, Sarimah was very philosophical in a way, but at the same time, it's very real. She was talking about the things that she experienced. Now, mental health, Prof, how do you look at it or how do you see it as in terms of the medical side of it, right? If you can just explain,
Well,
what is it
yeah,
actually?
I must thank you, Dr. Dato, for giving me this opportunity today. I must agree with Cik Puan just now that, there's a great deal of stigma associated with this people with mental conditions, I would say. And it is going to be a bit of a challenge for most people or society to accept that people have individualities, and we must respect the personalities of people as individuals. So we all have our ups and downs, and therefore at certain levels, certain points in our lives, we might have depression or anxiety, but then we pick up and then we carry on, and so we cannot be labeled as a person who has had a psychological condition previously and forever be judged on the basis of that. Unfortunately, I think all civilizations have somehow thought of mental illness as psychotic illness. Jadi semua condition kesihatan mental tu dianggap sebagai penyakit gila.
From medical perspective, apa dia all the different categories tu kalau you boleh
Yeah,
just jelas. Everybody
thank you.
anggap mental illness
Betul,
dia gila.
betul.
Okey,
Betul.
apa dia kategori dia,
Kalau
Prof?
kita katakan, saya setuju dengan Dato' dan juga Cik Puan. Saya tak suka gunakan istilah gila itu, tetapi kita gunakan ni dari segi akademik, dari segi apa yang memang masyarakat menggunakan perkataan. Tapi gila tu memang merujuk kepada satu kondisi ataupun psychotic condition, di mana kita lihat seseorang itu tidak ada is not in touch with reality. Mungkin mereka bisik-bisik atau ketawa dengan tanpa ada alasan ataupun sebab, ataupun bercakap-cakap sendiri dan sebagainya, atau perangai mereka, kelakuan mereka seperti aneh sedikit. Tetapi itu hanya 1 hingga 2% daripada semua keadaan mental health yang ada, yang dirangkumi dalam satu umbrella of mental health conditions. Yang paling luas adalah mungkin anxiety atau keresahan
yang teramat.
dan banyak orang yang ada simptom-simptom keresahan tu memang mereka sendiri tidak tahu bahawa mereka itu ada
keresahan
ini, dan mereka they become the silent sufferers in this. Jadi doktor sendiri pun tidak tahu bahawa ini adalah penyakit resahan sebenarnya.
Okey, terima kasih Prof. Kita sampai ke peringkat ataupun slot kita dah penghujung dulu. Kita baru bermula, Prof. Thank you very much. Cik Puan, I know all of you have a lot to share. So kita sudah sampai ke penghujung slot yang pertama. Nanti kita akan masuk slot yang kedua. Kita kembali selepas ini. Terima kasih kerana masih lagi bersama kami di TVS Econ Roundtable. Kita sangat bertuah hari ini kerana kita ada Yang Mulia Cik Puan Sarimah Ibrahim, seorang mental health advocate dan coach yang sangat terkenal. Topiknya ialah berkaitan dengan mental health di tempat kerja. Now, if you can share with us your tempat kerja at that time.
Oh my goodness.
I do not know, maybe is it the industry or you want to talk about organisation?
Tempat kerja kami dan kita sangat berbeza. Tetapi politik manusia ni lebih kurang sama. Sama ada di office ataupun di dalam industri hiburan. Cuma bila kita sebagai seorang performer dalam industri sebagai seorang penghibur ni, dia ada lebih, orang kata, lapisan diri yang dipamerkan pada orang lain. Maksudnya kalau kita pergi office sebagai orang biasa atau sebagai doktor ataupun sebagai seorang tenaga pengajar, you are you. Tapi of course ada masking dia sedikit, kita kena macam ni bila kita bekerja. Cuma sebagai seorang penghibur, dia lebih, lapisan dia jadi macam kuih lapis yang sangat tebal.
Kuih lapis Sarawak.
Ya, lagi tebal. Kan? Kerana kita ni sebagai, like for example, I'm a mother mother, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I am also a performer. So I need to add on more layers. Bermaksud lapisan diri kita tu makin lama makin tebal, jadi sukar untuk kita ingat semula siapa diri kita yang sebenar.
Is it a problem?
It can become a problem because eventually what happens is you become the persona rather than, and you lose touch with your own compassion for yourself as a human being, maksudnya. So, but it's not just us performers, but in the entertainment industry, of course, there are lots of body image pressures, look a certain way, eat certain things. I've done diet pills, I've done this, I've done that. You do everything because you need to fit into that look that's apa orang kata acceptable as a performer within that society, for example. And in Asia, when I started, I was 19, okay? Bukan nak kata I gemuk ke apa. I was just like, hi baby fat, you know? I mean, we all do.
Right.
But to get certain jobs, I had to look a certain way. So the pressure to be somebody other than who I naturally was sangat tinggi.
Okay.
Sebab itu yang klien nak. Klien nak baju dia dengan accessories dia, dengan dia punya show tu, dia nak sponsor a certain look. Jadi kita kena ikut.
Right.
Whereas if you go to work in the office, you don't have to look like the brand.
Right.
But when you work in an entertainment industry, you become the brand.
Okay.
So the pressure is there mentally.
Alright.
But the thing is, for me, for about 20 years, I didn't know there was pressure. I had coping skills. Maksudnya saya buat macam-macam. But for me, it was like my personality. To become fast talking, a workaholic, do 3 jobs a day, fly to Penang today, fly to JB tomorrow, come back, was normal to me because you get caught up in that cycle of achieving.
Right.
Rather than being. And I always say we're human beings first, we're not human doings. But I became a human doing and achieving. So I think it built up. And then when I got pregnant, it still was building. I wanted to be the mother who does everything.
All right. Superwoman syndrome.
And after I gave birth, I think it all just sort of, I would say, reality hit me that I'd lost touch with myself. And I was like, okay, I need to get sorted now.
Okay. Wow, that was really something.
Yeah, it's a very long story. I don't think we're going to be able to do it in this show.
Dr. Andrew, now that is in the entertainment industry. You know, we always view them as glamorous
Happy.
job. You know, happy, senyum, sentiasa. But there's a lot of kuih lapis in.
Kuih lapis dia tebal.
What about you, Dr. Andrew? The kind of, you know, the conditions or people who comes to you to seek advice or to seek treatment. What are the normal ones that you
Well, currently I work with asylum seekers and refugees whose intended destination is Australia. So that is a little bit peculiar. Their own, post-traumatic experiences in the past and, from their home countries, how they process that, and the depressive symptoms that they might have now while waiting to be placed in a third country. So that's a little bit different here. But generally speaking, as president of the Malaysian Mental Health Association, of course, we are also particularly concerned about workplace mental health in Malaysia. And that interest really came about because of all the attention that workplace mental health drew after the COVID. Jadi kita tidak boleh menafikan bahawa memang ada hubungan yang sangat rapat di antara pekerjaan dan kesihatan mental. Dan walaupun tidak ada banyak statistik untuk mengukuhkan pendapat saya ini, tetapi kalau kita lihat kajian yang dilakukan oleh NGO yang bernama Relate, dan di mana mereka telah mengatakan bahawa kerugian sebanyak 14.4 bilion ringgit. Jadi ini merupakan 1% of our GDP.
Right.
So this is a very big loss in terms of productivity. And of course, it is expected to go up to $25 billion in 2030. And while all that is there in terms of productivity dan daya saing negara kita, apalagi dalam keadaan ekonomi seperti ini, sudah tentu productivity yang turun tu akan menjejaskan juga tahap ekonomi negara. Tapi dari segi individuals, the workers themselves who are undergoing stress in the workplace, we need to find out what causes the stress in the workplace, particularly in the COVID environment now. And people, suffer in depression and anxiety, as just now I mentioned, in silence. So this has got a bearing on their own, not just the mental health, but also physical health. Ya. Jadi kita tahu kalau berpanjangan ini boleh juga menjejaskan kesihatan fizikal mereka. Mungkin berkaitan dengan penyakit kardiovaskular. Ataupun tahap pertahanan mereka terhadap penyakit ataupun the level of immunity in their body, that it can also be affected because of this. So and their own interpersonal relationships can also be affected as a result of this. And apa yang saya khawatir dan saya juga telah lihat dalam keadaan yang severe, yang parah, boleh juga menyebabkan kepada malapetaka seperti bunuh diri dan sebagainya.
Terima kasih Prof. Itu satu pandangan yang sangat menarik. You kind of complement each other. You're talking about the industry. And Prof, you hinted a bit about the later part we were discussing, remember? Suicide and things like that.
Suicide. I mean, that's obviously an extreme end, like as Prof mentioned. But, at the end of the day, whatever work you are in, there is going to be stress. But it's how you cope with it.
Right. So that will be in our next session. So kita kembali selepas ini, kita akan masuk ke slot yang ketiga, kita akan membincangkan the way forward. Okay, so terima kasih kerana masih lagi bersama kami di TVS Econ Roundtable. Terima kasih kerana masih lagi sudi bersama kami menonton program TVS Econ Roundtable. Ya. Seperti yang kita janjikan, kita ada Yang Mulia Cik Puan Sarimah. Terima kasih, seronok dengan cerita. And kita juga ada Dr. Andrew, Prof. Andrew, sekarang di Lautan Pasifik tu. Okay. Jauhnya nak berkongsi cerita. Okay.
Tapi masih boleh.
Boleh. Yes, Yang Mulia.
Thanks to technology.
I was made to understand you were in Miri recently.
Yes, I was. I went on a trip.
Can you just share with us?
Allah, ada 19 minit. Di Miri sekejap je. And my purpose, it was very interesting, was to talk to a room of 300 people who were all in suits and very serious about their mental health. So basically, they invited me to share my experience and what I've learned about, mental health and trauma.
All right.
Because those are topics that I'm very passionate about and I've read a lot on. I just need to sit for my exam and then I'm scared of exams. If not, I would have a master's now. But anyway, and I found that it was very, very receptive. Maksudnya dalam bilik 300 tu, walaupun dia nampak serious, very old school, by the end I had them turning to themselves and telling each other that, that they were very important to this world.
Okay.
And I think most people lack that feeling. They feel a lack of importance, a lack of belonging, and that is what drives a lot of behaviors of sort of compensating dekat tempat kerja. And I did feel that, But in that room in Miri, we had 300 guys primarily, and one HR lady and one counselor. And my goal was to actually get the attention of these 300 people so that they would eventually sign up and see the counselor. By the end of me showing them that it's normal to go through stress and it's normal to feel depressed and anxious in life.
Right.
And there's no shame in seeking help. They all went and wanted to talk to the counselor after that. But it starts from the top when the bosses and the CEOs showed receptiveness towards the topic and were asking me questions. The rest of the staff, you could see, were more engaging. And then people started to stand up and cry and talk about their lives and say to me, Sarima, I'm going through this and that, and I left an abusive relationship, or I need this and I need that in my life. And the counselor was so happy because finally these people in this company could open up and I said, it's not weakness. There is only strength in admitting, hey, maybe I need some help here. A bit of fine-tuning, as they say.
Right.
And then after fine-tuning sikit, you maintain. And then your life, you can flourish. Why survive only in life if you can flourish? Itu yang saya tanya selalu.
Okay.
It's not just about achieving, getting the next award, next this, next that, more money in the bank. If you're up here, not okay, no money, no status, no award, means anything.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for such a, what a sharing. Let's hear from Doctor.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, kita dah dengar kisah orang di Miri ni. Prof, From your experience, Prof.
I like what Chepon said
Yeah.
just now.
Can you just, yeah.
Survive when you can flourish? I think that's a fantastic tagline, and that's a message I'm going to take back today as well. I'm gonna
all right.
tell my client
Oi.
Boleh pinjam tu.
Tapi,
Yeah, Prof.
when we look at the stress in workplace, actually, I mean, a little bit of stress is, of course, normal and it's useful. We have all gone through that with a little bit of stress during our examination when we were students, or, even deciding whether we want to get married or should I not, should I take the step, should I not? And, all this gives us stress, and sometimes it brings out the best in us, a little bit of. Tetapi kalau stress itu agak berlebihan, then memang ini boleh memberi bawa kepada kemudaratan. Jadi apa sebenarnya we have to understand that keperluan pekerja kadang-kadang di tempat kerja, we are talking about workplace mental health. Yang tidak sepadan atau keperluan pekerja yang tidak sepadan dengan kebolehan pekerja itu ataupun sumber yang sedia ada ataupun kehendak pekerja sendiri. But it's not always just the work or deadline atau beban kerja. Kita harus juga recognize the fact that bullying and harassment is a big problem.
Online.
Yeah, I actually did something on cyberbullying, and I also learned a lot about bullying at work.
Okay, so that Cik Puan was saying that she did a lot of work.
Yes, and I've seen it. It's massive. It's rampant. And in my line of work, Professor Andrew, I mean, I get bullied constantly online. But I mean, I'm not playing victim here, but it comes with the job, is what I'm saying. Very stressful sometimes.
Di mana thresholdnya, Prof? Di mana saya tahu bila benda tu is okay and when it's not okay?
You can't sleep, you start sweating, everything.
Absolutely, You can't sleep, you cannot concentrate, your work performance is affected, your appearance, and then worst thing Dato, is when people start to cope with it by abusing substances, either by drinking too much alcohol
or overworking.
Overworking, like what you're saying.
Overworking and using drugs. And so even there are telltale signs in the office. Sometimes you see somebody who's normally very careful about their appearance, looking a bit disheveled, going for frequent cigarette breaks, even drinking copious amounts of something which is not right, not the normal person that you know.
So sudah ada tanda-tanda tu, Prof.
Tapi kita macam jadikan benda tu biasa, macam itu dia lah, biasalah tu.
Dia biasa.
Biasa, tapi seseorang tu mungkin di penghujung pangkal, orang said, one step away from it becoming something disastrous.
Wow. So we need to know, where should they go? What should they do?
Find Professor Andrew.
No, but the thing is, it is also good, that kalau the workplace itself promotes an environment where we can openly discuss issues
like what
this.
She mentioned just now.
Culture, yang tadi yang Cik Puan kata,
like they invited me,
so they recognize.
Yes, and that helps a lot.
So maybe so the way forward.
Well, acceptance, understanding that it's part of humanity, and also I believe the majikan themselves need to, as Professor mentioned, take a proactive stance in this, like, have the counselors at the workplace, perhaps sign up to a digital ataupun online mental health, association or company that can assist the staff, and regular check-ins and less pressure. And as Professor mentioned, making sure that you can find the strengths of your staff rather than pushing them beyond that. But then, of course, I was asked the question, how do you know what is beyond? Because sometimes people have potential.
Right.
Well, look at the science yourself, and that's why it comes to you as an individual to know yourself. I always say it comes down to knowing yourself. Choose a job, choose a life that is suiting you. Mental health, if you don't take care of it, it's like a generational issue. One hurt parent could possibly lead to hurting a child, and that child grows up and our society is affected because they then carry on the pain and so on and so on. And then you have an entire generation of people who are in pain and coping and perhaps becoming addicts, etc. as a result.
Oh, thank you so much, Yang Mulia Cik Puan. I don't think anyone can sum up more at the best that you can do today. So thank you so much. So sorry, Dr. Andrew, Prof. Andrew. I think we are towards the end of our discussion today. So saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih. Kita telah mendengar apa itu mental health, bukan hanya gila, apa itu cabaran-cabaran, dan kita mendengar pengalaman yang dialami oleh kedua-dua tetamu kita pada hari ini, dan juga kita melihat apakah dah simptom-simptom ataupun apa yang perlu dilakukan. So kita sudah sampai di penghujung episod hari ini. Terima kasih kepada kedua-dua tetamu undangan kerana sudi meluangkan masa bersama kami pada hari ini. Kita jumpa lagi pada minggu hadapan.